She wanted to surprise him at her birthday party with her pregnancy, but millionaire husband handed her a gift box with a note inside that read, "I'm leaving you. You're worthless. A mistake I wish I'd never made." She smiled, clutching the tiny envelope with the ultrasound tucked inside, rehearsing the words she'd waited months to say. Tonight, he'll know he's going to be a father. But when the lights dimmed and her husband placed a gift box in her hands, she opened it to find not love, not joy, but a note that sliced her open. "I'm leaving you. You're worthless. A mistake I wish I'd never made." In that single breath, her birthday became her funeral for everything she believed. Thank you for sticking around with me, my wonderful story family. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. Lena Hartwell had learned long ago how to wear a smile that could pass for sunlight. Tonight, it was supposed to be real. Tonight wasn't a masquerade or another polite performance for investors, for board members, or for Julian's restless, high-powered friends. Tonight, she had something worth shining for, a secret folded inside a pale blue box on the counter, tied with a ribbon that trembled each time her hands brushed against it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was the sonogram she had stared at until her eyes blurred, the small black lines that had rewritten her entire world in silence. The penthouse kitchen hummed with detail she had curated like brushstrokes on a canvas. A lemon-frosted cake cooling on the marble island, its bright scent curling into every corner of the apartment, champagne chilling in silver buckets, waiting for the clink of toasts, soft music threaded beneath the murmur of early arrivals. Lemon. The fragrance had followed them since their first year together, when she and Julian had made a disastrous lemon tart in their shoebox apartment, flour on his tie, laughter falling between them like sugar. It had become their quiet signal of sweetness through chaos. She breathed it in now, steadying herself. She had imagined it so clearly. His surprise when she slid the box toward him after the candles were blown out, his hand gripping hers, that rare and fragile softness flickering over his face as he understood. For months she had carried his distance like a weight, convincing herself this was the thing that could knit them close again. Love at last, not just the echo of it, but the real thing reborn. "Everything looks perfect," her sister Mara murmured, gliding in from the living room. Mara's sequin dress caught the chandelier light like a constellation. She kissed Lena's cheek, studying her with narrowed eyes. "Nervous?" Lena laughed lightly, smoothing the skirt of her silver dress. "Not nervous. Just ready." Mara's gaze lingered on the blue box. "He'll be surprised, that's for sure." Guests began to spill in behind her, colleagues from Julian's tech empire, old friends from her university days, even two journalists who had charmed their way onto the list. The air thickened with chatter and clinking glasses. Lena moved among them gracefully, accepting compliments, offering thanks. But always her eyes returned to Julian. He was magnetic as always, though his charm felt like something worn, a garment pressed and starched for public use. His laugh landed at precise intervals, his compliments delivered like carefully coded scripts. When he came to her at the terrace door, he brushed a kiss against her temple, brandy and faint cigarette smoke lingering on his breath, then drifted toward a group of investors near the fireplace. It was practiced, all of it, but she told herself tonight would break that pattern. Tonight would change everything. At 9:30, the room quieted for speeches. Glasses were lifted, a few jokes thrown, applause breaking like waves. Lena's pulse quickened. This was it. The candles flickered on the lemon cake, the smell rising sharper, sweeter, like a signal from fate itself. Julian stepped forward, his hand tucked behind his back. "Happy birthday, Lena," he said, his voice smooth, carrying across the room. A box appeared in his hand, lacquered black with a silver bow. "A gift for my wife." The crowd murmured approval, leaning in with curiosity. Lena blinked. This wasn't her box. Hers, with the sonogram and ribbon, still sat behind the cake waiting. She reached for his, smiling automatically, though her chest had tightened with a flicker of unease. The weight of it was wrong, heavier, solid. She opened it. Inside was no jewelry, no trinket, no thoughtful token. Just an envelope, stark white against the dark interior, its edges lined in black as though it belonged to a funeral. Her fingers trembled as she slid it free. Around her, laughter rippled from some side conversation. Champagne fizzed. The world did not know it was about to tilt. She unfolded the paper. "I'm leaving you. You're worthless. A mistake I wish I'd never made." The words were flat, mechanical, yet they detonated in her chest. The chatter around her seemed to blur, muffled like sound underwater. Her breath caught, her throat closed against air. For a second she thought she might faint, but the lemon scent, bright, insistent, dragged her back, filling her nose like mockery. The satin ribbon slipped from her fingers and fell against the marble with the softest hiss. She stared at the note again, searching for some cruel joke, some hidden line to reverse it, but there was nothing. Julian stood before her, expression calm, almost empty, as if he'd already stepped out of the room. Mara appeared at her side, gripping her arm. "Lena," she whispered fiercely. "What is this?" Guests were leaning closer now, their smiles faltering. Silence crept over the room in jagged beats. Someone coughed. Ice clinked against glass. Lena folded the note with deliberate care, her hand steady though her heart rattled like glass in a storm. She looked up at her husband. "Is there more to this?" Her voice was quiet, but it carried. For a heartbeat, Julian faltered, his jaw tightening, his gaze flicking away. He looked older, thinner, as if the act of writing those words had drained him. But then he straightened, his tone as rehearsed as a boardroom announcement. "I said what needed to be said." Her world buckled. The lemon fragrance swelled, unbearable now, pressing memory against pain. She thought of the box she had prepared, still waiting with its fragile treasure. She thought of the life beginning inside her, unseen by everyone in this glittering room. She thought of what love was supposed to mean. And then she thought of nothing at all, only silence and the eyes of strangers watching her life break apart. What would you do in Lena's place? Confront him publicly in that moment, or protect your dignity and walk away quietly? If this scene hooked you, share your instinct in the comments. And if you want to follow Lena's journey, subscribe now so you don't miss the next part of her fight for love and worth. For a moment, Lena thought she heard the walls sigh. The marble floors, the glass windows glittering with city lights, the polished steel of the kitchen island, all seemed to lean toward her, waiting to see what she would do with the words burning her hand. Julian had already stepped back, letting silence rush in around her like a tide. His expression was sculpted into neutrality, the face of a man delivering a verdict, not a husband breaking a promise. Mara's grip tightened on her arm. "Say something," she hissed, her eyes wide, as though words could rewind the night. But Lena couldn't speak. She saw flashes instead, the box she had prepared behind the cake, its ribbon trembling with every draft, the tiny sonogram inside, a heartbeat printed in shadows, the lemon frosting glistening beneath the chandelier like it was laughing at her. The scent was thick, unbearable. She fought the urge to gag. "Julian," one of the investors murmured, voice carefully amused, what is this, some kind of performance?" Julian didn't answer. He sipped his drink, his jaw tightening for only a second before his calm returned. The crowd whispered now, speculation crawling over the room like static. Some guests avoided her gaze, others stared openly, greedy for scandal. Lena's skin burned. This wasn't a private wound. It was theater, and she was the spectacle. She forced herself to stand straighter, refusing to crumple. The note crackled faintly in her hand as she folded it once more, slipping it back into the envelope. "You chose your moment," she said, her voice level but sharp enough to cut through the hush. "But don't mistake my silence for weakness." A ripple moved through the guests. Mara exhaled a sound between pride and fear. Julian only tilted his head. "Then prove me wrong." His words were quiet, meant for her alone, but the challenge inside them was unmistakable. The air pressed heavy around her. Every choice glittered with consequence. If she screamed, she would give him the drama he seemed to expect. If she wept, she would hand him victory. If she revealed the sonogram, she would expose her secret to strangers, and he would see it as a trap. Her gaze flicked to the blue box on the counter, still waiting in innocence. For a heartbeat she considered it. To open it now, to show him, to show all of them what love she still carried. Would that change anything? Or would it only hand him another weapon? Julian's eyes followed hers to the box. His smile flickered, almost cruel. He knew there was something there. Mara stepped between them, her voice sharp. This isn't the place. Lena, let's go. But Lena didn't move. She lifted her chin, let the silence linger until it bent toward her. Then she spoke, soft but clear, "Enjoy your party, Julian. I'll enjoy the rest of my life." With that, she turned from the crowd. Each step toward the door felt heavier, the lemon scent chasing her like a ghost. She didn't cry. She didn't stumble. She walked out into the night with the note in her hand and the box still unopened behind her. The city swallowed her as the door shut. The hum of traffic, the pulse of neon signs, the chill of early spring air, all struck her at once. She clutched the envelope, its edges cutting her palm. Her phone buzzed in her clutch. A text from an unknown number. He was never going to stay. But you already knew that. Her blood froze. She spun, scanning the street, but saw only strangers spilling from cars, couples laughing beneath awnings, the endless hum of a city too busy to notice her unraveling. The phone buzzed again. He's not the man you think he is. He's hiding more than you imagine. Her breath caught. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a web. And somewhere in the shadows, someone else was pulling threads. The cab smelled faintly of leather and disinfectant, but to Lena it carried only the phantom sting of lemon frosting, the scent that had once meant warmth now clinging like a taunt. She pressed her temple against the cool glass as the city scrolled by in fractured lights. The note still rested in her clutch, folded into silence, though the words echoed louder than the traffic horns outside. You're worthless. A mistake. Her hands moved automatically to her abdomen, a protective gesture she hadn't intended anyone to see. There was life here. Proof that she was not worthless, not empty. She whispered to herself, almost inaudible, "For us." The phone buzzed again. The unknown number. You need to leave him before it's too late. Her stomach tightened. She stared at the message until the letters blurred, then typed back with shaking fingers. Who is this? No reply. Only the steady hum of the tires. When the cab pulled into the driveway of her sister's townhouse, Mara was already waiting at the door, a throw draped over her shoulders like armor. She pulled Lena inside without a word, the two women moving in silence until the door clicked shut. Do you want to talk about it? Mara asked finally, voice brittle. No, Lena whispered, then corrected herself. Not yet. Mara studied her. I've seen him cold before, but what he did tonight, that wasn't just cruelty. It was calculated. Lena looked at her sister, startled. Calculated. He wanted everyone there to watch you fall apart, Mara said, her jaw tight. But you didn't. You walked out. You left him standing there with his cruelty exposed. Lena almost smiled, though it trembled. It doesn't feel like victory. They sat at the kitchen table, a single lamp haloing their faces. Mara poured tea, steam rising in spirals, but Lena didn't touch it. She pulled the note from her clutch, laid it on the wood like evidence, then set her phone beside it. The screen still glowed with the unknown text. Mara frowned. Who's been messaging you? I don't know, Lena admitted. But they knew. They said he was never going to stay. That he's hiding something. Mara's eyes sharpened. Then we find out who. The thought jolted Lena, not just survival, but investigation. For the first time since the party, she felt the faint spark of control. Still, the ache pressed in. She thought of the blue box she had left behind on the counter. Guests might have noticed it, might have even opened it, and the idea made her heart lurch. That ribbon had been tied for Julian, not strangers. She whispered half to herself, "I wanted him to know tonight." Mara reached across the table, squeezing her hand. Maybe he doesn't deserve to know. Not yet. But Lena's eyes filled with stubborn light. No. This isn't about what he deserves. It's about what this child deserves. I won't let his cruelty write our story. Her phone buzzed again. Both women jumped. Another message blinked on the screen. "Meet me tomorrow. Noon. Café Vesper. Bring no one. You need the truth." Lena stared at it, heart pounding. The truth about what? Mara whispered. "I don't know," Lena said, though she felt the words like a current under her skin. "But I have to find out." The lemon scent rose in her memory again, stronger, as if the past refused to release its grip. For years she had thought it a sign of sweetness. Tonight, it was sharper, almost sour, a reminder that love can curdle if left too long in the heat of pride. She closed her eyes, letting the ache of betrayal and the pulse of new fear coexist. Between them, something else was stirring, resolve. The next morning dawned pale and brittle, light breaking across the blinds in thin white lines. Lena hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the box left behind at the party, the lemon cake gleaming untouched, and Julian's face, cool, unflinching, almost relieved as he delivered his cruel note. She rose early, moving through Mara's townhouse in borrowed silence. The kettle hissed, but she didn't drink. Instead, she unfolded the note again, as if some invisible ink might appear and soften the words. Nothing changed. The sentence cut the same way each time. By noon she was standing in front of Café Vesper, her palms damp inside leather gloves. The café's black awning sagged slightly, its gold lettering dulled from rain. She scanned the street. A delivery truck idled nearby, a man in a dark coat smoked under a lamppost, and students hurried past with earbuds in. Ordinary. Too ordinary. Inside, the café smelled faintly of espresso and burnt sugar. The hum of voices wrapped around her, a cushion of anonymity. She chose a corner booth, her back against the wall, her eyes fixed on the door. Minutes bled together. She checked her phone, no new messages. She considered leaving. Then a shadow fell across her table. Mrs. Cartwright. The voice was male, low, cautious. She looked up. A man in his late 30s stood there, dark suit, rain-spotted overcoat, no smile. His eyes flicked quickly across the room before settling on her. "Yes," Lena said carefully. "May I?" He gestured to the seat opposite. She nodded, her heartbeat loud in her ears. He slid into the booth, placing a worn leather folder on the table between them. "I'm not here to frighten you," he said. "My name is Daniel. I used to work for your husband." Her breath caught. "Used to." He gave a humorless smile. "Until I asked the wrong questions. Julian doesn't like questions." The folder sat there like a sealed fate. Lena's gaze lingered on it, then returned to Daniel's face. "Why contact me?" "Because you deserve to know why he left you like that." His tone sharpened. It wasn't just cruelty. He needed distance before things came out. A chill slid down her spine. Things. Daniel lowered his voice. "Your husband is moving money, large amounts, into accounts no one is supposed to know about. He's been building a wall around himself. Cutting ties. You were the final tie." Lena gripped the edge of the table. "And the note? Publicly humiliating me at my birthday." "He wanted to make it clean," Daniel said. "So when it all collapses, you're not standing beside him." Her chest tightened. She thought of the guests whispering, of Julian's hollow challenge. Prove me wrong. It hadn't been about her at all. It had been about protecting himself. Daniel pushed the folder toward her. Inside is proof. Bank statements. Emails. Enough to show you what he's doing. Her hand hovered above it, but didn't touch. 1,000 questions knotted in her throat. Could she trust this man? Was this another manipulation? Daniel leaned closer. You should leave him behind, Mrs. Cartwright. He will burn everything he touches. Don't let him burn you. The lemon memory swept her again, the first tart they had baked, the scent that had once promised sweetness. Now it stung her nostrils like smoke. She whispered, almost to herself, I'm carrying his child. Daniel's expression flickered, shock, then something like pity. Then you have even more reason to run. Her pulse roared. She looked at the folder, the evidence waiting like a door. To open it meant stepping into a new life, one with secrets and shadows. To leave it closed meant clinging to the lie Julian had left her with. She slid the folder closer, her fingers brushing the worn leather. Then show me everything. The folder lay heavy in Lena's lap, its leather edges cracked, the paper inside whispering with the weight of secrets. She sat on Mara's couch, blinds drawn against the afternoon sun. Every instinct told her not to look, that once she opened it, her life would never again resemble the one she'd clung to. Yet her fingers pried it open, page by page. Bank statements first. Julian's name printed clean at the top, but the numbers spiraled, staggering amounts drained and shifted into accounts under shell corporations. Cayman Islands, Zurich, even Dubai. The sums weren't household splurges or careless transfers. They were lifeboats, built carefully and launched away from her. Her stomach tightened as she flipped to emails. Words between Julian and an unnamed partner, terse and encrypted. Phrases leapt out, timeline accelerating, remove liabilities, public distance necessary. Lena froze. Public distance necessary. Her birthday party hadn't been about cruelty at all. It had been a performance, her humiliation staged to sever ties cleanly before the walls of his empire buckled. Mara entered quietly, holding 2 mugs of tea. She set one down, studying her sister's face. You opened it. Lena nodded numbly. He's leaving everything behind. Money partners me. She tapped the paper. And he wanted everyone to watch. Mara's jaw clenched. So he isn't just cruel. He's corrupt. Lena's throat tightened. And I'm carrying his child. The words hung, fragile yet immovable. Mara sat beside her, pressing warm fingers around hers. Then this isn't just about him anymore. You need to protect yourself. Protect the baby. Lena tried to swallow the lump in her throat. But even as fear swelled, something else flickered, a strange cold determination. For years she had bent to Julian's rhythms, softened her voice, dimmed her wants. But now she held evidence that his empire wasn't invincible. The lemon scent drifted again, faint, imagined, curling through her memory. She remembered flour on his tie, laughter in their tiny apartment. She remembered hope. That memory stung worse than the evidence in her hands. The phone buzzed. Another message. He knows you met me. Be careful. Lena's chest seized. She looked at Mara, voice cracking. He knows. Mara's face paled. How? Daniel warned me Julian doesn't like questions, Lena whispered. He must still have people watching me. The room thickened with dread. If Julian knew, he wouldn't wait quietly. He had built walls of wealth and power, and he could turn them into weapons. Mara leaned close. Then we use this. We expose him before he silences you. But Lena shook her head, staring at the folder. No. If I expose him now, I lose everything. The company, the life I built beside him, even the chance for this child to know his father without shame. I need to be smart. I need to move carefully. Her sister squeezed her hand harder. Smart doesn't mean silent, Lena. You've been silent too long. Silence. The word struck deep. All the nights she had endured his coldness, all the dinners where his laugh belonged to everyone but her, all the time she convinced herself a child would fix what was broken. She had lived in silence. Tonight she felt it fracture. She rose, clutching the folder. If he wanted me worthless, he should never have underestimated me. Her reflection in the darkened window showed a woman she hardly recognized, pale, weary, but burning with something fierce. She wasn't planning only survival anymore. She was planning a reckoning. And somewhere out there, Julian was already moving pieces she couldn't see. By evening, Lena felt the walls of Mara's townhouse closing in. Every creak of the floorboards, every headlight sweeping across the curtains, every buzz of her phone set her nerves crackling. The folder sat on the coffee table, silent but loud, like a weapon waiting to be used. Mara tried to distract her with food, but Lena couldn't eat. She stared at her phone instead, half expecting another message from Daniel, half dreading one from Julian. When the screen lit up with Cartwright Legal Group as the sender, her pulse jumped. She opened it. Effective immediately, all joint accounts are frozen. Your access to shared assets is suspended pending legal separation. Lena read it twice, the words digging into her chest like claws. Frozen. Suspended. As if she had been erased. Already. Mara hissed, leaning over her shoulder. He's moving faster than I thought. Lena's stomach twisted. He knew I'd fight back. He wants me powerless. Her phone buzzed again. Another email. This time from press desk at Cartwright Corp. Subject line, statement regarding personal matters. She clicked, breath caught. The statement was short, polished, brutal. Mr. Julian Cartwright has made the difficult decision to end his marriage to Lena Hartwell Cartwright. While he values their years together, irreconcilable differences have made separation necessary. He wishes her well. Her heart slammed against her ribs. It was already public. He hadn't just left her in a room of guests. He was dismantling her reputation in the press. The article would run everywhere by morning. To the world, she wasn't betrayed. She was discarded. Mara cursed under her breath. He's painting himself as noble, making it look like you're the unstable one. Lena felt heat crawl up her throat. She pressed a hand to her abdomen, grounding herself against the swell of panic. He won't get away with this. He thinks he's protecting himself, but he's just handed me the proof I need. She reached for the folder. But before she could open it again, her phone lit with a new text. Not Daniel, not a legal account. A private number. He knows about the baby. The world stopped. Her breath came shallow, jagged. Only 3 people knew, her doctor, herself, and the blue box she had left behind at the party. Unless someone had opened it. Unless Julian had. Mara grabbed the phone, reading aloud in horror. How could? Lena, if he knows, he'll use it against you. Her hands trembled. This isn't just about money anymore. He'll twist this child into leverage. The lemon memory rose again, only now it wasn't gentle or sour. It was sharp, acidic, clawing through her senses. Once it had meant tenderness. Now it meant war. She stood abruptly, pacing the length of the room. I can't wait. I have to make the first move. Mara looked alarmed. What are you planning? I'll confront him, Lena said, voice steady despite the storm in her chest. Face to face. If he knows about the baby, he has to say it to me, not through lawyers or press releases. Mara caught her wrist. That's dangerous. He has power, resources. You could walk into a trap. Lena shook her head. The only trap is silence. He thinks he's stripped me of everything. He's wrong. Her sister searched her face, then exhaled, resigned. If you're doing this, you don't go alone. Lena hesitated. Daniel's warning echoed in her head. Julian doesn't like questions. But every step Julian took to erase her only carved her resolve deeper. She picked up the folder, clutching it against her chest. Then let's see how invincible Julian Cartwright really is. The Cartwright Tower loomed above Lena like a slab of midnight glass, its mirrored facade swallowing the city's lights. She hadn't stood here since the birthday party. That graveyard of champagne flutes and laughter curdled into whispers. Now, with the folder pressed beneath her coat and Mara close at her side, Lena pushed through the revolving doors. The lobby smelled of polished marble and cold steel. Receptionists smiled too brightly, pretending not to recognize the wife who had been humiliated on every newsfeed this morning. Lena ignored them, her heels striking sharp against the floor as she strode toward the private elevator. "Lena," Mara murmured. "You don't have to do this today. Not like this." But Lena's jaw tightened. "Every hour I wait, he erases more of me. Tonight, I take something back." The elevator hummed as it carried them upward. Her reflection stared back in the brass panel, pale but steady, eyes lit with a fire she hadn't felt in years. She pressed her palm against her abdomen, grounding herself in the secret no statement could twist. When the doors opened, Julian's office stretched wide and gleaming. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city sprawling below, but the room felt colder than the skyline. Behind a desk of black oak, Julian sat, immaculate in his tailored suit, a glass of scotch glowing amber beside him. He didn't rise. He didn't even feign surprise. His eyes flicked briefly to Mara, then settled on Lena with a calm that bordered on mockery. "I expected you sooner," he said. Her voice cut sharper than she intended. "You knew I'd come." "I knew you'd cling," he replied smoothly. "That's your gift, endurance. Unfortunately, it's also your flaw." Mara bristled, but Lena lifted a hand to silence her. She stepped forward, placing the folder on his desk. "I know about the transfers. The shell accounts. The emails. This isn't endurance, Julian. This is truth." For the first time, his expression shifted. Not fear, not guilt, irritation, faint and precise, like a crack in porcelain. "You've been talking to Daniel," he said flatly. Lena's pulse skipped. He knew. He had known all along. Julian leaned back, swirling the scotch in his glass. "Daniel is a parasite. He feeds on weakness. Yours, mostly. He'll tell you whatever story keeps you useful." "Useful?" Her voice wavered, then sharpened. "You humiliated me, froze our accounts, turned the press against me. And you dare talk about use." He studied her, his gaze sliding deliberately to her abdomen before returning to her face. "And yet, even now, you carry what belongs to me." Mara gasped softly, but Lena kept her breath steady. "So you do know." Julian smiled thinly. "I always know." The lemon memory rose unbidden, not in scent this time, but in the bitter twist of her stomach. She remembered his laugh in that cramped kitchen years ago, remembered thinking they were building something sweet. Now he sat across from her, carving away everything she had believed. "You'll never control this child," she said, steady and low. "Not with money, not with lies." His smile hardened into a blade. "Control isn't the point. Legacy is. And you, Lena, are not part of mine anymore." The words cut deeper than the note at her birthday. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. But then her fingers closed around the folder again, nails digging into the leather. "You're wrong," she whispered. "For once, you're wrong." And before he could respond, she turned, striding for the elevator with Mara close at her heels. She didn't look back, but she felt his eyes on her, burning, calculating, already planning his next move. The night swallowed Lena as she and Mara stepped out of Cartwright Tower. The city lights gleamed, but to Lena they looked like warning flares, pulsing against the dark. She clutched the folder tighter, every nerve alive from Julian's final words. "You are not part of my legacy. They walked briskly toward Mara's car. The street was quieter than usual, an unsettling silence undercut only by the hiss of tires on wet pavement. Halfway across the lot, Mara froze. "Do you feel that?" she whispered. Lena followed her gaze. A black sedan idled a few rows away, headlights dimmed, engine humming. No one emerged. No one moved. Her heart thudded. "Get in the car," Lena said, voice low. They slid inside, doors clicking shut. Mara started the engine, hands trembling on the wheel. The black sedan eased forward, headlights flickering to life. "It's following us," Mara muttered. Lena twisted in her seat. The car kept a careful distance, never too close, never too far, like a shadow tethered to their rear bumper. She imagined Julian upstairs in his office, swirling scotch, already anticipating her fear. "Drive," Lena said. "Don't stop." They wove through downtown streets, but the sedan followed with predatory calm. Mara's breath came shallow. "Should we go to the police?" "With what proof?" Lena snapped. "A car following us? Julian will make them laugh us out of the station." Her mind reeled. Julian wasn't only erasing her financially. He wanted to suffocate her in fear, make every street corner and shadow his weapon. Mara turned sharply into a crowded street. The sedan hesitated at the light, then disappeared behind a bus. Relief loosened Lena's shoulders, but only slightly. "Maybe it was nothing," Mara whispered. Lena shook her head. "With Julian, nothing is everything. He wanted me to see that car." Silence thickened between them. At last, they pulled into Mara's townhouse driveway. The house glowed with its warm porch light, but Lena felt no comfort. She gripped the folder, nails biting into the leather. Inside, the air smelled faintly of citrus, Mara's candle burning on the kitchen counter. The lemon note curled cruelly in Lena's nose, dragging her back to that memory of sweetness. For a moment, her knees buckled. Mara steadied her. "He can't keep us under siege like this." Lena exhaled shakily. "That's exactly what he wants. To make me feel small, hunted." She dropped the folder onto the table. Papers spilled out, bank statements, encrypted emails, names she didn't recognize. She spread them with trembling fingers, determined to transform fear into focus. Somewhere in this paper storm was the thread she could pull to unravel Julian. Her phone buzzed again. This time, no name. Just a single photo, the blue gift box she had left behind at her party. Open, empty. Her stomach lurched. He found it. Mara looked at the screen, eyes wide. He knows for certain. Lena's hand pressed against her abdomen instinctively. Julian wasn't bluffing anymore. He had the proof, and he had just sent her the message. Nothing she left behind was safe. She shut her eyes, forcing her voice to steady. "Then he's underestimated me again. He thinks fear will freeze me. It won't." But even as she said it, the shadow of the black sedan lingered in her mind. Papers blanketed Mara's kitchen table like fallen leaves. Numbers, dates, and coded language blurred together until Lena's eyes throbbed. She forced herself to keep reading, tracing the lines of transactions across continents. Zurich to Dubai. Cayman to Singapore. Each path ended in shadows. Mara set down 2 mugs of tea, but Lena barely noticed. Her sister hovered nearby, anxiety etched in every step. "You've been at this for hours," Mara said softly. "You need rest." Lena shook her head. "Rest is what he's counting on. Every page I turn proves he's not untouchable. There has to be something here I can use." Her fingers paused over a line of numbers on a transfer sheet. The account holder name was abbreviated, A. Vesper. Lena frowned. "That's a cafe." Mara leaned closer. "The one where you met Daniel?" "Yes. But why would Julian use the same name? Too obvious." Lena flipped to another sheet. Again, a Vesper. Again, thousands moved. Her pulse quickened. It wasn't sloppiness. It was arrogance, or a code she hadn't cracked. She shuffled through the folder, searching for patterns. At last she found an email chain between Julian and his partner. One phrase repeated, deliverables by Vesper. Lena whispered the word under her breath. Vesper. Her mind raced back to the cafe's awning, its gold lettering faded by rain. Had Daniel chosen the place because he knew? Or was it coincidence? Mara frowned. You think Daniel's involved? The thought chilled her. Or he's warning me through it. Her phone buzzed, slicing the silence. A message from Daniel. Be careful where you search. Not everyone around you is who they seem. Lena's stomach dropped. She glanced at Mara, then back to the glowing screen. Was Daniel protecting her, or manipulating her? The lemon candle sputtered on the counter, filling the air with its sharp, sour sweetness. Lena inhaled, memories rushing back, laughter in their kitchen years ago, Julian promising her they'd build something real. The scent now mocked her, a ghost of a love that had curdled into poison. Her hand pressed against her abdomen. This child deserves more than shadows and threats, she murmured. Mara's eyes softened. Then let's finish this. If Vesper is the key, we follow it. Lena nodded, though doubt gnawed her. Julian's game was bigger than money. He wasn't careless. If the cafe's name repeated across his documents, it wasn't an accident. It was a message, or a trap. The clock struck midnight. The papers on the table seemed to whisper, daring her to keep going. She gathered them back into the folder, every page a weapon waiting to be sharpened. Tomorrow, she would return to Café Vesper. Not as a desperate wife seeking answers, but as a woman prepared to unmask the empire her husband thought indestructible. Rain slicked the streets the next morning, silvering the city in a restless sheen. Lena stood across from Café Vesper, the black awning drooping with droplets, gold lettering dulled by damp air. She clutched the folder against her chest, Mara's warning still echoing, Daniel might not be what he seems. Inside, the café buzzed with its usual rhythm, clinking cups, soft jazz, the hiss of steam. To anyone else, it was ordinary. To Lena, every sound throbbed with menace. She slid into the same corner booth where she'd first met Daniel. Her eyes swept the room, students hunched over laptops, an older couple sharing croissants, the barista frothing milk with practiced ease. And in the back, Daniel. He wasn't alone. Across from him sat a woman in a steel-gray suit, her posture crisp, her gaze sharp as a blade. They spoke low, faces close, papers spread discreetly between them. Lena strained to see, but the angle hid most of the details. Only one thing caught her eye. At the top of the paper stack was the same abbreviation she had traced all night, a Vesper. Her heart pounded. She pulled out her phone, typing quickly, "You didn't say you were meeting someone today." Daniel's head lifted slightly. His eyes scanned the cafe, settling on her. For a beat too long, he didn't move. Then he slipped the papers into his bag, murmured something to the woman, and rose. He crossed the cafe, his smile thin, eyes shadowed. "You shouldn't be here, Lena." Her voice trembled, but held firm. "Then why are you?" Daniel's glance flicked to Mara's absence, then back. "I told you, Julian doesn't like questions. If you keep chasing Vesper, you'll find answers you can't afford." She leaned forward. "Then tell me who that woman is." His silence said enough. The lemon tang of her tea curled upward, stabbing her senses with its bittersweet sting. Lena steadied herself on the table. "If you're using me, Daniel, you'll regret it." His jaw tightened. He slid a card across the table, plain, embossed with nothing but a phone number. "Call when you're ready to learn what Vesper really means. But understand this, once you step through, there's no return." She stared at the card, the weight of choice pressing down. "And if I don't call?" He exhaled, eyes narrowing. Then Julian wins. And you and your child lose everything. Her chest seized at the word. Child. He had said it knowingly, without hesitation. She hadn't told him. Her throat tightened. How do you know? Daniel's expression flickered, regret or calculation, she couldn't tell. Julian isn't the only one with eyes. Be careful who you trust. He left before she could answer, disappearing into the rain-slicked street. Lena sat frozen, card in hand, the lemon sting fading into cold bitterness. She had come seeking clarity, but found only deeper shadows. Now both men, her husband and the one who claimed to help her, carried secrets about her unborn child. The game wasn't about money anymore. It was about legacy. And she was trapped in the center. The morning headlines arrived like blades. Lena sat at Mara's kitchen table, phone trembling in her hands as she scrolled through the news feed. Cartwright Corp announces restructuring. Key properties sold. CEO Julian Cartwright strengthens empire despite personal turmoil. Beneath the headline was a photograph. Julian striding from a courthouse, tie perfect, jaw set, expression calm. He looked untouchable. And beneath the photo, her name flickered like a scar. Abandoned wife seen relying on sister. Sources say instability led to split. Mara leaned over her shoulder, fury bright in her eyes. He's feeding them lies. He's making you the liability. Lena's stomach twisted. Julian wasn't just rewriting their marriage. He was rewriting her identity. And once the world believed she was unstable, no court would trust her with custody, no matter what child she carried. She shoved the phone aside, pressing her hand against her abdomen. He's coming for more than money. He's coming for the baby. The air thickened. Mara knelt beside her, gripping her hands. Then we fight back. Use the folder. Use Daniel. Something. But Lena's mind reeled. Daniel's card still burned in her pocket. One phone call could open doors, reveal truths. Yet his knowledge of her pregnancy gnawed at her, a secret too precise to be coincidence. Before she could answer, the doorbell rang. Mara stiffened. Stay here. She disappeared to the front hall. Moments later, she returned pale, holding an envelope. No return address. Lena tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed in bold black. You are not safe here. Move again, or the child suffers first. Her breath caught. The words blurred, while rising in her throat. Mara snatched the note, gasping. Julian wouldn't. Lena cut her off, voice low, raw. Julian doesn't bluff. The lemon candle flickered nearby, filling the air with its sharp tang. The scent stabbed her memory, dragging her back to the nights she once trusted him, the promise of sweetness. Now the same scent filled her lungs like poison. She stood, trembling but resolved. I can't wait any longer. He knows where I am. He knows everything. Mara's voice cracked. Then you're really going to call him Daniel. Lena pulled the card from her pocket, its plain number stark against the white. Her thumb hovered over her phone, pulse hammering. Daniel had promised answers. Julian had promised ruin. Both men saw her as a piece on their board. She whispered, almost to herself, what if I'm more than that? Mara clasped her hand. Then prove it. Call him, or burn it. But don't let either of them decide your fate. The lemon scent lingered, daring her to breathe through it. She pressed the digits into her phone, each one a choice that might save or destroy her. The line rang once. Twice. Then clicked alive. Lena, Daniel's voice came low, urgent. I told you, Vesper isn't what you think. And now Julian knows you're close. Her throat tightened. Then tell me the truth. What is Vesper? Silence stretched. When he spoke again, his words struck like thunder. It isn't a code. It's a name. Lena's grip tightened on the phone. Daniel's voice hummed low through the line, threaded with urgency. "It's not a code. Vesper is a woman," he said. "The one pulling Julian's strings." Lena's chest constricted. A woman. Not a faceless corporation or offshore partner, but a name. A presence. Daniel continued, each word clipped. "She's been with him longer than you realize. Every transfer, every shell account, it all routes back to her. She isn't his partner. She's his architect." The air left Lena's lungs. For years she had believed Julian's empire was his own creation. But in truth, there had always been another, invisible, orchestrating. Her voice trembled. "Then why stage my humiliation? Why destroy me?" "Because you were the last thread he hadn't cut," Daniel answered. "Vesper wanted you gone. Cleanly. Publicly. Permanently." The lemon scent curled again from the extinguished candle, faint but lingering, tugging her back to nights she thought Julian loved her. Now she understood that love had been conditional, curated, disposable. Her free hand pressed against her abdomen. "And the baby," she whispered. Daniel hesitated. "That's why you can't stay where you are. If Julian has made you the liability, then Vesper sees the child as unfinished business." The room spun. Mara steadied her, reading her face without hearing the words. "What did he say?" Lena swallowed hard, lowering the phone. "There's someone else. A woman. She's the one he's protecting, or obeying." Mara's eyes widened. "Then Julian isn't the enemy?" Lena's voice cracked. "No. He's just the weapon." Silence stretched. Outside, rain tapped the windows like fingers against glass. Daniel's voice broke through again. "Listen carefully. I'll send a location. If you want the truth, meet me there. But if you do, you'll never see your husband the same way again." The line clicked dead. Lena sat frozen, the card trembling in her hand. Truth. Legacy. Betrayal. The pieces spun in her head, jagged and merciless. Mara spoke softly. "What now?" Lena exhaled, her voice steadier than she felt. "Now I decide whether to face the architect of everything, or walk away before the walls collapse. Would you risk meeting Daniel to uncover Vesper's true identity, or protect yourself and the child by staying hidden? Do you think Vesper is Julian's true love, his controller, or something darker? Comment your theory below. And before we push further, pause a second. If this story has you hooked, hit like, share it with someone who loves a twist, and subscribe so you don't miss the next part of Lena's fight. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It's always incredible to see this community around the world. The city looked different at night. Not softer, harder. The glass towers glared down at Lena like silent judges, their reflections fracturing in rain-slick streets. She pulled her coat tight, Mara close by her side. Every step toward Daniel's address weighted with dread. The location he had sent wasn't a sleek office or anonymous cafe. It was a derelict building near the river, brickwork stained, windows boarded except for one faint glow on the top floor. "Looks like a trap," Mara muttered. "Or the only chance we've got," Lena replied, though her voice quivered. Inside, the stairwell reeked of damp plaster and rust. Each step creaked beneath them. When they reached the top, a door stood ajar, light seeping through the crack. Lena pushed it open. Daniel was waiting, coat draped across a chair, papers spread across a scarred wooden table. Maps, ledgers, names, and photographs. Dozens of photographs. Her stomach dropped. Every image was of her. Smiling at her wedding. Shopping downtown. Sitting in the park, hand pressed to her stomach when she thought no one was looking. Mara gasped. "My God, he's been watching you." Lena's throat closed. She turned to Daniel, voice sharp. "What is this?" He didn't flinch. "Proof. Vesper's network has been tracking you for months. Julian's money funded it. He may have signed the papers, Lena, but she orchestrated the surveillance. She picked up a photograph, her hand trembling. The lemon-scented paper of the envelope Julian had sent her seemed to echo here, the same sting of intrusion, of intimacy twisted into threat. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low. You wanted the truth. Now you see the cost. Vesper doesn't just erase people. She studies them, dismantles them piece by piece. You were never just Julian's wife. You were her unfinished problem. The words sank like stones in her chest. She had thought losing Julian was the end. But here, surrounded by evidence of her life dissected, she saw the truth. She had been marked long before the marriage crumbled. Mara's hand gripped hers. We should go. This isn't safety. It's a death sentence. Daniel's gaze softened, though his tone remained fierce. If you walk out now, she wins. You'll live the rest of your life running, always looking over your shoulder. But if you stay, if you fight, you can end her grip over both you and Julian. Lena's voice broke. And what do I lose if I fight? He didn't answer. The silence told her everything. The sound of heels struck the stairwell before the door creaked open. Lena's pulse froze. A woman stepped into the room, tall, poised, clad in a black trench that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Her hair fell in an ink-slick wave over one shoulder, her lips painted in a shade too dark to be casual. She carried no folder, no briefcase. She didn't need them. Vesper, Daniel murmured, voice tight. Her gaze swept the room, pausing on Lena. The corner of her mouth curved, not a smile, but recognition. So, the mistake my protégé insisted on keeping. Lena's throat locked. You've been in my life this whole time. Vesper's eyes gleamed, a predator's amusement. Longer than you think. Julian was never meant to marry you, Lena. He was meant to build, to conquer. And I was meant to refine him. You were a sentimentality. One I corrected. Mara stepped forward, anger sharp. You ruined her life. You humiliated her. Why? Vesper barely looked at her. Because power bends to precision. Love is disorder. Love is risk. And Julian had no room for either. The words sliced deeper than Lena expected. For a moment she thought of their first nights together, laughter lit by lemon-scented candles, sweetness she believed eternal. To Vesper, it had been weakness. Daniel's jaw clenched. Enough. She deserves the truth. Vesper arched a brow. Truth? She can't handle the truth. But Lena stepped closer, her voice steady despite the quake inside her. Then give me the choice. What do you want with me? With my child? The silence that followed was colder than the rain outside. Finally, Vesper spoke. Children complicate legacies. They dilute focus. If Julian insists on leaving you discarded, then so be it. But I cannot allow you to birth distraction. The words landed like a blade. Mara gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Lena forced herself not to flinch. You'll have to kill me first. For the first time, Vesper's composure cracked, a flicker of interest crossing her eyes. Perhaps, she said softly, that is the only way to ensure the future. Daniel moved quickly, stepping between them. Touch her, and Julian loses everything. He may obey you, but he still loves his image. You stain that, you stain yourself. Vesper's lips curved again, sharper this time. She turned toward the door. Then perhaps we let her stew. Fear makes its own choices. The echo of her heels faded into the stairwell. Lena sagged, her body trembling as if the weight of the encounter crushed her bones. Mara caught her, whispering fierce reassurances. But her mind burned with a single realization. Vesper wasn't just power. She was inevitability. And if Lena didn't fight, her child had no future. The lemon tang lingered in her senses, now forever poisoned. The smell of love once promised, now weaponized into threat. The night air was bitter when they left the building. Lena leaned against Mara, legs trembling, Vesper's words still echoing like venom. Children complicate legacies. I cannot allow you to birth distraction. Mara guided her toward the car. We should leave the city. Tonight. I'll drive. We'll disappear before she makes another move. But Lena's chest burned with something heavier than fear, fury. If we run, she wins. Vesper will hunt us no matter where we go. Mara tightened her grip on the wheel once they pulled away from the riverfront. You're not thinking clearly. You're carrying a child. You can't fight monsters like her. That's my job now. Lena turned, eyes stinging. Your job? Mara, this isn't your burden. Her sister's jaw flexed, refusing to meet her gaze. You think I'm going to let you face her alone? After everything Julian took, everything she's taken? No. If someone falls, let it be me. The words sliced through Lena worse than Vesper's threats. She slammed her palm against the dashboard. Don't you dare. This is my fight. My child. My life. Mara finally looked at her, eyes glistening under the glow of passing street lamps. And if fighting her takes you away from me too? You think I can survive that? The car fell into silence, the hum of tires filling the space between them. Lena pressed a hand to her stomach, the lemon tang of the car's faint air freshener stabbing her senses. Once, the smell had comforted her. Now it clawed at her nerves, a reminder of love twisted and stolen. She whispered, more to herself than to Mara. What if I can't protect anyone? Mara reached across, squeezing her hand. Then you let me protect you. The tenderness broke something inside Lena. For the first time since the party, she let her tears fall freely. Not for Julian. Not even for herself. For Mara, the sister who had carried her when she couldn't stand, who now risked everything. Daniel's warning replayed in her mind. If you walk out now, she wins. If you stay, you'll never see your husband the same way again. But the cost wasn't just Julian. The cost was Mara. When they pulled into the small driveway of Mara's house, Lena lingered in the car, staring into the night. Her reflection in the window looked hollow, haunted. Yet beneath it flickered something fierce, resolve. She turned to her sister, voice steady at last. If Vesper wants war, she'll get it. But not at your expense. If I fight alone. Mara's eyes darkened. Over my dead body. And Lena knew with a crushing certainty that her fight for love, for dignity for her child, might cost her the only person left who truly believed in her. Mara didn't wait for Lena's consent. The next morning, she was gone. Lena woke to silence, the couch still warm where her sister had slept. On the kitchen counter lay a single note, written in Mara's brisk, determined hand. She won't stop until she sees fear. I'll make her see mine first. Lena's knees buckled. Mara had gone after Vesper alone. She stumbled to the window, searching for any sign of her sister's car. Nothing. The lemon-scented candle on the counter had burned out in the night, leaving only a faint, acrid smoke. Lena coughed against it, as though grief itself clung to her lungs. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered with trembling fingers. Vesper's voice slid through like silk. Your sister is brave. Braver than you. She thinks she can bargain. Lena's blood iced. Where is she? In the place where choices are tested. If you want her back intact, you'll come. Alone. The line went dead. Lena's heart pounded, fury and terror colliding. Mara's loyalty had turned into recklessness, and Vesper would exploit it. She grabbed her coat, ignoring the dizziness that swept through her. Every instinct screamed this was a trap. But if she hesitated, Mara would pay the price. Daniel's card lay on the table. She snatched it, weighing whether to call him. But trust was a currency she couldn't afford anymore. As she stepped into the cold morning, one truth seared her chest. Vesper wasn't just dismantling her life. She was tearing away everyone Lena loved, piece by piece, until nothing remained. For the first time, Lena spoke aloud to the child she carried. "Hold on. We'll survive this. I won't let her take you too." Her voice cracked, but her stride didn't falter. The warehouse smelled of metal and dust. Lena's footsteps echoed as she stepped inside, every shadow a threat. Her chest tightened, not just from fear, but from the lemon tang clinging to the air, sharp and unnatural, as if Vesper had scented the room deliberately. At the center, under a hanging light, Mara stood. Hands bound, face bruised but defiant. Vesper circled her like a cat, heels tapping in deliberate rhythm. "You came," Vesper purred. "I wondered if you had enough courage left." Lena's voice shook but carried steel. "Let her go. This is between us." Vesper tilted her head. "It was always between us. Julian was simply the stage. You're the distraction I had to erase." Lena took a step closer. "You call love distraction. I call it survival. You'll never understand." Mara struggled, shouting, "Don't give her what she wants." But Vesper's gaze sharpened. "One choice, Lena. Walk away now, and your sister lives. Stay and you both burn." The words coiled like a trap. Lena's heart pounded, hand pressed against her abdomen. She saw Mara's bloodied face, remembered nights of whispered laughter, lemon candles flickering between them when they dreamed of better futures. Family. She stepped forward anyway. "Then burn me." But she stays. For the first time Vesper faltered, just a flicker but real. The lights above buzzed, throwing shadows across the floor as if the room itself held its breath. Vesper's eyes narrowed as Lena stepped fully into the light, shoulders squared. "You'd sacrifice yourself for her? For the child?" Lena's voice didn't waver. "For love. Something you'll never control." Mara shouted through cracked lips, "Don't," but the moment had already shifted. Daniel's figure emerged from the shadows behind Vesper, silent until now. He snapped open a recorder, its red light glowing. Everything's on record. Every threat. Every admission. Vesper spun, fury flashing. "You traitor." But Lena seized the moment. Your empire isn't power. It's fear. And fear crumbles when the world sees it. For the first time, Vesper's mask slipped. The predator looked cornered. She hissed, but retreat crept into her eyes. Mara stumbled free as Daniel cut her bindings. Lena caught her, holding tight, the lemon tang of the room still stinging her senses. But this time, it wasn't poison, it was memory. Proof that even what was twisted could be reclaimed. Julian's shadow might linger, but Vesper's hold was broken. And Lena, cradling her sister and her unborn child, knew she had not just survived. She had won.
Family, if Lena's journey touched your heart, we just want to say thank you for being here with us. Your time, your presence, your voice in the comments, it means the world. If this story of resilience and love at last spoke to you, please like this video, share with someone who believes in the power of love, and subscribe so you'll always be part of this storytelling family. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. It's such a joy to see how far our family stretches, connected by stories that remind us we're never alone. Together, we grow stronger. Together, we keep love alive.